Right now, without realizing it, your body is speaking, not in words, not in sentences, but in gestures so small, so automatic, so deeply wired into your nervous system that you perform them hundreds of times without ever noticing. A flicker of the fingers, a shift of the leg, a reach for your phone, a sudden silence that swallows you whole. These are not random movements. They are not bad habits or signs of weakness. They are the language of your nervous system, the vocabulary your unconscious uses when the rational mind has been overwhelmed and the body must take over. Carl Jung believed that the psyche does not hide its truth. It reveals it constantly through behavior, through dreams, through symbols, and through the automatic reflexes we perform when anxiety rises and the mask we wear begins to slip. He called a collection of hidden impulses, suppressed emotions, and unacknowledged fears a shadow. And the shadow, Jung said, does not disappear when we ignore it. It simply finds another exit. Your nervous habits are one of those exits. What you do when you're scared, uncomfortable, or emotionally pressured is not a flaw. It is a confession, a precise, unfiltered message from the deepest layer of your psyche about who you are, how you were shaped, and what you are still carrying. Think about it. In the moments when logic shuts down and the heart begins to race, what does your body do? Where do your hands go? What does your face do? What does your voice become? What do you reach for? Most people have never asked themselves these questions. They simply react and then return to normal, unaware that in those few nervous seconds, more truth was revealed about them than in hours of careful conversation. This video explores 5 types, 5 distinct nervous responses, 5 different confessions a body makes when the world feels too much. As you watch, notice which type belongs to you. You may recognize yourself immediately, or you may feel a quiet discomfort, that particular unease that comes when something true is named before you were ready to name it yourself. Both reactions are meaningful. Stay with me through all 5, because even if only one feels like yours, the others will teach you something about the people sitting closest to you in your life. Type 1, the phone reach, escape and avoidance. There is a moment, just a fraction of a second, that happens before you're even aware of it. The conversation becomes uncomfortable. The silence stretches one beat too long. Someone says something that creates a flicker of tension in your chest, and your hand moves. Before your mind has formed a single thought, your fingers are already reaching for your phone. You swipe, you scroll, you tap, you stare at a screen filled with images you will not remember in 10 minutes. And slowly, the uncomfortable feeling begins to blur at the edges. Not disappear, just blur. If this is your habit, your body is telling you something important. Not that you are weak or avoidant or afraid of real connection. It is telling you that somewhere in your history, leaving felt safer than staying. Jung described a psychological defense mechanism he called withdrawal. When the psyche encounters a situation that feels emotionally threatening, it removes itself from the field of tension. The body may still be present in the room, but the self, the inner experiencing self, has already departed. The phone is simply the vehicle. People who reach their phones when nervous are often highly emotionally intelligent. They can sense the atmosphere of a room before a single word is spoken. They pick up on tension, disappointment, and unspoken expectation with remarkable precision. And because they feel these things so acutely, they have developed an equally precise system for managing the discomfort. Distance. The phone creates it instantly. But this habit carries a shadow, as all habits do. The relief it provides is real, but temporary. The uncomfortable feeling that sent you reaching for the screen does not dissolve while you scroll. It waits. It collects. Over time, avoidance does not reduce anxiety. It trains the nervous system to treat discomfort as something intolerable rather than something survivable. There is something else worth naming. People who use the phone as a nervous exit often grew up in environments where emotional presence felt risky. Perhaps expressing discomfort led to dismissal or ridicule. Perhaps the adults around them modeled avoidance as the appropriate response to tension. So the child learned early that the safest place to be when things became emotionally charged was somewhere else entirely. The phone, in this sense, is not laziness or rudeness. It is a loyalty to an old survival strategy that once protected you and has now begun to limit you. Ask yourself this. What would happen if you put the phone down and simply stayed. Stayed in the discomfort. Stayed in the silence. Stayed in a room with your own nervous system, you might find that the moment passes more quickly than you expected, that you are more capable of tolerating uncertainty than your habit suggests, that the people around you are not as dangerous as the old memory implied. Your body reaches for the exit because it learned that exits keep you safe. But growth begins in the moments you choose to remain. Type 2, hair touching and face contact. Self-soothing and childhood comfort. Watch what happens to your hands in a moment of real anxiety. Not mild discomfort, real anxiety. The kind that tightens the throat and makes the world feel slightly too fast and slightly too loud. Do your fingers move to your hair? Does your palm rise toward your face? Do you press your lips together or rub your cheek or touch the back of your neck in a gesture so subtle that no one in the room would notice it, except your body, which knows exactly what it is doing? This is self-soothing, and it is one of the most ancient, most human nervous responses that exists. Long before you had language, long before you could name what you were feeling or explain why a situation felt threatening, you had this. Touch. The skin remembers what the mind forgets. The earliest form of comfort a human being receives is tactile, a hand on the back, warmth against the body, gentle pressure that says, without words, you are not alone. You are held. When the adult nervous system encounters stress, it sometimes reaches backward through time and repeats what the body learned when it was very small. Touch me, soothe me, tell me this will pass. Jung would recognize this as a psyche reaching toward an earlier, safer version of the self, a regression, not in the pejorative sense, but in the deeply human sense of returning to what once provided comfort when the present moment offers very little. People who self-soothe through touch tend to be deeply feeling individuals. Your inner world is rich and textured and full. You experience emotions not as abstract states, but as physical sensations in the body. Joy rises in the chest. Fear tightens the stomach. Tension lives in the shoulders. And comfort, when it comes through the skin. This is not weakness. This is sensitivity of a very particular kind. A sensitivity that allows you to feel others deeply, to notice what they are carrying, to respond to the unspoken needs in a room. It also means that your own unspoken needs are real, present, and asking to be met. The shadow of this habit is quieter, but worth listening to. When self-soothing becomes a primary response to anxiety, it can become a substitute for seeking actual support. Instead of reaching toward another person or speaking the truth of what you are feeling, the hand moves to the hair and the moment passes, and the need remains unmet beneath the surface. Ask yourself, when did you learn that you were responsible for soothing yourself? Who should have been there to provide comfort and was not? What would it feel like to ask for that comfort from someone else, not from your own hands, but from another human being who chooses to offer it? Your body is not broken. It built a beautiful, tender solution to a problem it faced alone. The next step is learning that you no longer have to face it that way. Type 3. Foot tapping and finger drumming, suppressed energy and trapped emotion. There is a particular kind of nervous energy that cannot be still. It must move. It will find a way out to the foot against the floor, the fingers against the desk, the knee bouncing in the chair, the pen clicking rhythmically against a hard surface. The body is sending something out through rhythm because it has no other channel. If this is your habit, you are not simply fidgeting. You are discharging. The human nervous system, when activated by stress, prepares the body for action. Heart rate rises. Muscles engage. Breath quickens. Energy concentrates in the limbs. This is the ancient fight or flight response, the body's most fundamental answer to perceived threat. The problem is that in most modern situations, neither fighting nor fleeing is available or appropriate. You are sitting in a meeting. You are waiting for news. You are in a conversation that makes you uncomfortable, and you cannot simply run from it. So the energy that was mobilized for action has nowhere to go, and the body, being intelligent and persistent, finds the smallest possible outlet. The foot, the finger, the knee, a tiny repetitive movement that mimics the motion of doing something without actually requiring you to do anything at all. Jung spoke at length about what he called psychic energy, the internal charge that accumulates when emotion cannot be expressed or action cannot be taken. He believed that suppressed energy does not dissolve. It transforms, And when it cannot transform through healthy expression, it emerges through the body, through symptoms, through agitation, through the relentless tapping that tells everyone in the room that something inside you is working very hard to stay contained. People who tap and drum and bounce their legs are often people of extraordinary internal intensity. Your mind moves quickly. Your emotional responses are fast and strong. You experience boredom as almost physically painful because your inner world requires more stimulation, more challenge, more forward motion than most environments naturally provide. You are likely someone who is better in motion than in stillness. You think while you walk. You process while you work. You feel most like yourself when something is happening, when there's a problem to solve or a direction to move toward or a project that demands your full engagement. The shadow is this. Constant discharge through small physical movements keeps the energy moving but does not resolve it. The anxiety that is being tapped away is the same anxiety that returns the moment the tapping stops. It is a management strategy, not a resolution. There is also a deeper question worth sitting with. What is the energy trying to say before the body intercepts it? What emotion is being kept in motion because stillness will require you to feel it fully? Sometimes the foot taps because the mouth has chosen not to speak. Sometimes the fingers drum because the hands were never allowed to reach. Sometimes the body finds rhythm because the soul needed a song and was given no space to sing it. Ask yourself, what am I holding that needs to be said? What action am I postponing that my body is already trying to perform? What would happen if the tapping stopped and the real feeling was allowed to arrive? You have more energy than most. The question is not how to quiet it. The question is where it truly wants to go. Type 4. Complete shutdown, the stone face and silent response. There is a type of nervous response that looks, from the outside, like absolute calm. The face becomes still. The eyes flatten. The voice, if it speaks at all, becomes measured, quiet, almost formal. The body does not fidget. The hands do not move. Everything goes inward, and the person sitting in front of you becomes, in some hard-to-name way, less available, less present, as if a door is closed from the inside. This is not calm. This is shut down. And if you recognize yourself in this description, it is important that you hear what follows with openness rather than defense. The freeze response is a third branch of the autonomic nervous system's threat reaction, less well known than fight or flight, but equally ancient and equally powerful. When the nervous system assesses a situation as not just threatening but inescapable, when it determines that neither fighting nor fleeing is an option, it does something else entirely. It goes still. It disconnects. It makes the body and the face as unreadable as possible. It removes the self in the situation by going inward rather than outward. In animals, this looks like playing dead. In humans, it looks like composure. And it is extraordinarily easy to mistake for strength. Jung understood the persona, the mask we wear in the world, as a necessary but sometimes dangerous construct. When the persona becomes so thick that emotion cannot penetrate it even in private moments, something essential has been cut off. The face that shows nothing does not feel nothing. It has simply learned, at some deep and often early level, that feeling was not safe. People who go stone-faced, under pressure, often carry the most complex emotional histories of all 5 types. The shutdown response is almost never chosen. It is learned in environments where emotional expression was not welcomed, or where showing fear, pain, or uncertainty had consequences. The child who cried and was mocked learned stillness. The child who spoke up and was punished learned silence. The child who was never seen learns to stop asking to be seen. The adult who remains still when nervous is honoring a very old contract. Stay small. Show nothing. You will be safer this way. The extraordinary weight of this habit is that it isolates even as it protects. People who cannot read you often give up trying. The walls that were built for safety become the walls that prevent intimacy. An emotional distance you create in moments of stress becomes the very thing that confirms your oldest fear, that you are somehow fundamentally alone. Ask yourself, what did it cost you to learn this stillness? What emotion was considered too dangerous to show? What did you need from someone that you never received? And what would happen if you allowed one person, just one, to see you in your actual state? You are not made of stone. You learn to look like it. And that distinction matters more than you may yet understand. Type 5. The joke, defense mechanism, and fear of vulnerability. The tension rises. The moment becomes serious. Something is at stake, emotionally or relationally or professionally. And before anyone can register how significant this moment actually is, you say something funny. It lands. People laugh. The tension breaks. The serious thing has been gently, cleverly, entirely redirected. You smile, and no one in the room knows that the humor was not for them. It was for you. If laughter is your exit when things become too real, you are in remarkable historical company. Some of the most genuinely funny people who have ever lived have used humor as a sophisticated, highly intelligent method of never having to be fully known. Jung described the trickster as one of the most powerful archetypes in the collective unconscious. The trickster transforms danger through cleverness. He disarms with absurdity. He turns a moment of real threat into a performance, and in doing so, controls the room while remaining personally invisible. There is genius in this. Real, unmistakable genius. But there is also a cost. People who joke when nervous are often the most emotionally perceptive people in any room. They can read the atmosphere instantly, identify the exact point of tension, and find the precise angle from which to release it through laughter. This requires extraordinary social intelligence. You understand other people, sometimes better than you understand yourself, because understanding other people is useful. It tells you how to manage them, and managing the room is a way of remaining safe within it. The shadow of this habit is perhaps the most poignant of all 5, because the humor that makes everyone around you feel more at ease is simultaneously the thing that keeps them from ever seeing you clearly. If every serious moment becomes a performance, then no serious moment ever reaches you. And if no serious moment reaches you, then no one in your life ever has access to the actual you, the one underneath the wit, the one that is uncertain, afraid, and in need of something more than laughter. There is a particular loneliness that belongs exclusively to the person who is always the funniest one in the room. People love them for the joke. They do not always know them beyond it. Jung believed that the persona, the mask, becomes pathological when the individual can no longer separate from it, when the character they have created to navigate the world has become so automatic, so constantly deployed, that the true self beneath it has nowhere left to breathe. Ask yourself this, not with judgment, but with genuine curiosity. Were you afraid would happen if you allowed a serious moment to remain serious? What would people see if the punchline never came? What do you need that you have been laughing away? Your humor is real. Your wit is real. Your intelligence is remarkable. But you are also something quieter and more complex and more vulnerable than the performance suggests. And that part of you deserves to be known just as fully as the part that makes the room laugh. These 5 habits, the reach for the phone, the hand in the hair, the tapping foot, the frozen face, the perfectly timed joke, they are not character flaws. They are not things to be ashamed of or corrected like bad grammar. They are the autobiography your body writes when words feel insufficient or unavailable or too dangerous to speak. Jung believed that the path toward wholeness, toward what he called individuation, the gradual becoming of who you truly are, does not begin with adding new qualities to the self. It begins with recognizing what is already there. The unconscious does not hide because it is malicious. It hides because it was taught that hiding was necessary. When you recognize your nervous habit not as a random tic, but as a message, when you ask not just what am I doing, but what am I feeling, and what was I taught about that feeling, something shifts. The automatic becomes visible. The unconscious begins to speak in a language you can understand and respond to. This is not a quick process. It is not a realization that changes everything in a single moment. But awareness is the beginning, and the beginning is enough. Notice, this week, what your body does when the world becomes too much. Do not correct it immediately. Simply watch it. Ask it what it is protecting. Ask it what it learned. Ask it what it might be ready, slowly to let go of. The body does not lie. It has been keeping your secrets not to deceive you, but because no one yet taught it that the truth was allowed to come forward. You are allowed to know yourself fully, even the parts that fidget and freeze and reach and joke and touch their hair in the dark, especially those parts. If this video reached something in you, share in the comments which type felt most like yours. Your honesty might give someone else the words they have been searching for.